Did you know that chai is a huge deal in the Arabian Gulf? This spiced tea is originally an Indian drink that made its way to the region via the spice trade routes. The locals loved it so much that they adapted it into Chai Karak and has since become a part of the local culture. What makes it different from masala chai is that it has a lot less spices, and I personally make it a few times a week. This first version is an easy 1-minute version that I can put together between work meetings. Word of warning though, this is not authentic Karak, but it is quick and delicious and 70% of the way there. Take 4 green cardamom pods, place them on a cutting board and crush them lightly so they crack open. Grab a large mug and then add in a strong black tea bag. I'm using Assam tea which has a strong earthy flavour, and then add in the cardamom pods you just crushed. Pour in some boiling water from your kettle and then let the tea brew until you're happy. I'm always miserable so I didn't leave mine to brew much, but when you're happy with the colour of your tea you can add in the milk. Now for this recipe I usually use condensed milk, which is a thick sweetened milk sold in cans. If you don't take sugar with your tea you can use evaporated milk here, but I find the condensed milk tastes better in the quick version. Add 1 to 2 heaped tablespoons of the condensed milk and then mix it all together until it's well dissolved. That's how I make the express version, which is a pretty good pick-me-up during the middle of the day. Slightly spiced, a little caffeinated and really easy to make. Now this second recipe is the real deal Chai Karak. If you've ever had the perfect cup of tea, you'll know it has a terracotta colour. Check out how perfect this one is. This is the kind of Karak you'll get in the United Arab Emirates, where they have hundreds of shops selling amazing Karak all over the country. To make this we need a few simple ingredients, which you probably already have at home. At its most basic you'll only need green cardamom, evaporated milk, black tea and sugar, but we'll add some ingredients which take it to the next level. First you need 3 teaspoons of loose black tea. I've run out of loose tea so I'm just going to rip open these tea bags to get hold of the good stuff. I'll explain why we need loose tea in a couple of minutes. Next up you'll need 2 tablespoons of sugar. Without sugar this tea can be a bit too strong, so if you don't like sugar try using just a little. In terms of milk we'll be using evaporated milk, which unlike condensed milk doesn't have added sugar. It also has a velvety texture and an almost malted flavour, which works great in hot drinks. To spice the tea you'll need 4 green cardamom pods. Make sure that these have a strong aroma, otherwise you might need to add more. Those are all the required ingredients, but these next ingredients are totally optional. We're also going to add 2 cloves, a small piece of ginger which weighs about 3 grams, and about 8 threads of saffron. You can also use a small piece of cinnamon, but I prefer not to because it can overwhelm the other spices. Start off by crushing the cardamom with something flat so that all of the pods crack open. Take your ginger and remove the skin, then slice that into a few small pieces. Now place a pot on your stove with high walls. As we boil this, the tea will easily froth and boil over, so the high walls make it safer. I'm doubling the recipe, so of course I'm going to use a large pot. Add your black tea as well as all of the spices to the pot. Add 1.5 cups of room temperature water and then turn on your stove to bring it to a boil. Want to see a magic trick? Ta-da! Add in your sugar which will stop the boil, then bring it up to a simmer. Now set a timer for 5 minutes, which will be the perfect time for it to infuse. While you're watching the pot, take notice of the tea. Loose tea is free to flow and roll around the pot, so it disperses its flavour evenly. Unlike tea bags though, which love to float to the surface, and they concentrate their flavour in one area. It's 5 minutes later and now the tea looks pretty good. It should have a nice dark colour with a well spiced flavour. At this point you add in your condensed milk, and you'll need 1 cup of it for this recipe. Once you pour that in, the tea should turn a beautiful caramel colour, and we'll need to cook it just a little longer. Be careful at this stage because the milk loves to foam up. Keep the pot on a medium heat so it's just above a simmer, and be ready to take it off the heat whenever it foams. Every time it boils, take the pot off the heat until the foam dies down, then place it back on the heat and allow it to foam up again. This technique of repeated boiling gives the tea a luxurious mouthfeel, and it's part of what makes Karak so good. After about 5 boils, check the colour of your tea. If it's this rich terracotta colour, then it's 10 out of 10 perfect. For the unexperienced among you, this might look too strong, but trust me when I say you're about to get addicted. You can serve this right away, just make sure that you're using some sort of strainer to remove all of the tea and spices. I poured it into a teapot and it's ready to serve. Now it's pretty warm these days, so I like to ice up the Karak, and it tastes as good cold as it does hot. I'd also like to point out that this is a very large portion. A single serving of Karak is usually around 150 milliliters. Given how much tea we just used, each of these glasses probably has a ton of caffeine. Maybe that's why I like it so much? All in all, this is one of my favourite drinks, and I think it would make a pretty good ice cream.